Hey, are you ready to learn 10 English idioms that you must know in order to sound like a native English speaker? Good, because I am so ready to teach you. Now, before I start the lesson though, I need you to do 3 simple things for me. You see, my goal is to help students just like you around the world, but I want to help 1 billion students. I know it's a big number, but I have big goals and I want to help students like you. So all I need you to do is like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. Here we go. Like, share, subscribe. Come on. I said like, share, subscribe. Last time, like, share, subscribe. I'm Teacher Tiffany. Let's jump right in. All right, so our first idiom is easy on the eyes. Easy on the eyes. Now, easy on the eyes is an idiom that means easy to look at, attractive or beautiful, or someone or something that is good to look at. Now, listen, I've told you all before that my ideal type is a tall, dark, and handsome man. Woo! Yes! I like him chocolate, y'all. So one of my favorite actors, his name is Taye Diggs, and man, is he handsome. He is easy on the eyes. It's so easy for me to look at him. Now, I'm sure you have your favorite actor or your favorite actress or someone that is very famous who is also very handsome or beautiful. You can say they are, yes, easy on the eyes. Now, let me show you some example sentences. Here we go. What if you're talking about models? You can say that model is definitely easy on the eyes. Or what if you're talking about a trainer? Ooh, real quick, y'all. Now, we're in the midst of a pandemic right now, so we're not able to go to the gyms as freely as we were in the past. And I actually used to go to the gym every day during the week to exercise. Now, when you go to the gym, sometimes there are individuals who are very, very attractive, very easy to look at, very easy on the eyes. Now, I've had some individuals who made it a little bit difficult to focus on what I was doing. The guys would walk into the gym and every muscle, every chest muscle, every arm muscle, everything was perfect. So what can we say? Those guys were easy on the eyes. So now for the trainers, we could say the trainer at the gym is very easy on the eyes. Now, what about an actress? Like I mentioned earlier, for the actor, you can say, many people say that actress is easy on the eyes. And what about dating? When you go dating, maybe someone could say, hey, you should give your number to him. He's pretty easy on the eyes. And this is a conversation, ladies, I'm sure you've had in your own language, but now you can say it in English. And guys, you can say the same thing for females. Ooh, she's easy on the eyes. All right. So a very useful idiom. And what about when you have a crush on someone? Oh, let me explain that. So a crush. Now, a crush is when you like someone, but they don't know, right? You like them. And you know what? Maybe they have a feeling that you do, but it's kind of a one-sided love, right? Like, oh, man, I really like that person, right? Let's say, for example, when you're in school, right? You know, when you were younger and there was a guy, or for the guys, there was a girl, and you would just look at him or look at her and be like, man, I really, really like him, or I really like her. We can say, oh, you had a crush on him, or you have a crush on her. So how can we use the idiom to explain a situation like this? The teacher was easy on the eyes, so all of the little boys wanted to sit in the front row. Oh, quick story, y'all. Quick story. Got an extra story time. When I was younger, I think I was in the 4th grade. We had a teacher. He was tall. He had a nice voice. He was handsome. I was in the 4th grade. I mean, I was young, but he still was a very handsome teacher. And I had a crush on my teacher. So whenever he'd come in the room, I would smile really big. I would focus really hard on the class and the lesson, because I thought he was really cute. So as a child, I had a crush on my teacher. Okay. All right. So he was easy on the eyes. All right, now let's go on to the next one. So number one was easy on the eyes. Number two, our second idiom is let your hair down. You're probably wondering, teacher, does that just mean like let your hair down? This is called twists. For those that are curious about my hairstyle, these are twists. But let my hair down? No, no, no. It's very, very simple to understand, but it's a little bit different than just letting your hair down physically. It means to behave in an uninhibited or relaxed manner, to relax and enjoy oneself, or to allow yourself to behave much more freely than usual and enjoy it. So I want you to think about when you go to work, right? Usually when you go to work, you have to be very professional. You have to, whether you're working in an office or an environment where there are other people around you, you have to act a certain way. You have to wear certain clothes because you are working. But when you get home, think about it. When you get home, do you sit properly at the table when you're at home with your family? Or do you, yes. Do you relax? You probably relax. I hope so. You let your hair down. All right. So let's see some examples. Here we go. Let's say, for example, you're tired again after work. You can say, after a long day at work, the office workers decided they needed to let their hair down. Make sense? What about unwinding? Oh, another great word. Okay. Unwinding is very similar to let your hair down. Think about something. When you wind something up, right, it gets really tight and strict, right? You can't really move it. But when you unwind it slowly, it starts to relax, right? The same can be applied to your day. You're unwinding or letting your hair down. So let's see the sentence. Here we go. Here's the sentence. I had a really stressful day today. I think I'm just going to let my hair down. So you can use this right now, guys. You can use this idiom right now. If you had a long day at work, or if you've been working really hard at home, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. You have to take care of the kids, you have to cook, you have to clean, and you get really stressed. And you say, you know what? I just need to let my hair down. Make sense? All right, so let's see another example. Here we go. Again, a very useful idiom, relaxing. Mandy spent the weekend letting her hair down by watching 3 movies back to back. Now, back to back just means watching one and immediately watching another and immediately watching another, back to back. Okay? All right, so Mandy was watching a lot of movies. And what about on vacation? We can say, I spent time at the beach, ate lots of food, and I really let my hair down. I'm actually planning a vacation with my friends, and I am looking forward to letting my hair down as well. All right? Okay, let's keep going. Here we go. What about on the weekends? Maybe you like to do some things with your friends on the weekends. It's Saturday night. Why don't you stop being so serious and just let your hair down for a change? Now, when we say for a change, we're just saying, now, come on, like for a change. Usually you do one thing, but why don't you switch it up a little bit? Change it and do something else. So right now, do something else for a change. Let's say you usually eat at home. You do that on a regular basis, but your husband comes home and says, hey, honey, why don't we go out to eat? Why don't we go to a restaurant? Something that you don't normally do. So you can say, honey, why don't we go out to eat for a change? Make sense? All right. So this person is being told to relax and let their hair down for a change. Okay. All right. Now, let your hair down was number 2. Number 3, another good one. Lose your head. Lose your head? Like, I'm back. No. Don't worry. Lose your head doesn't mean that. Actually, lose your head means lose self-control, to panic, or to lose one's composure. For example, I'm teaching you right now. I'm so excited to teach you English, right? I'm composed. I'm explaining the idioms in a very clear way. But let's say, oh my goodness. Okay, wait a minute. Suddenly, I'm not composed. Suddenly, I'm panicking. I lost my head for a moment, but now I'm back. Make sense? All right, so let's see some example sentences that will make it even easier to understand. Angry. Woo! This guy's angry. He usually stays very calm in meetings, but this time he just lost his head. And sometimes that happens when you go to a meeting and maybe there's an issue and there's one individual who's usually very calm, very composed. Hey, everything's okay. But this one meeting, they get very angry and suddenly they start yelling. We can say, whoa, he or she really lost his or her head during the last meeting, right? Okay, here we go. All right, what about when you're scared, okay? I was afraid, so at that point, I lost my head and started panicking. What about when you lose your way? You don't know where to go. If you get lost, don't lose your head. Or in other words, don't panic. Stay calm, stay composed. Just think and retrace your steps or go over your steps again. What about when someone's yelling at you? After he ignored me, I lost my head and started yelling at him. All right? You start yelling, you lose your head, you're not composed, you start kind of going off. Lose your head, right? Okay, now let's see what happens if you're arrested, right? Try not to lose your head when you get stopped by a cop. Now, there's a lot going on in America right now with the Black Lives Matter movement and many other things that are happening because of racism that unfortunately is still present in America. So many parents, many Black parents tell their young men and young women, but mainly young men, hey, if you get stopped by a cop, I need you to stay calm. I need you to stay composed. I need you to try not to lose your head. Make sense? Now, again, not all cops, but I'm saying this is something that parents are telling their children now, okay? Try not to lose your head, telling their teenagers when they're driving, okay? All right, so not to lose your head. So, number 3, lose your head. Now, what about number 4? This is another good one. Head start. Head start. Now, I want you all to pay attention because this is one you can use for your children, for yourself, and for many different situations, all right? Even work. Now, head start just means to start before other contestants in a race, or an early start that results in an advantage or an initial advantage in a competitive situation. Let me break it down like this. I am American, right? So my language, my mother tongue is English. Now maybe you're from India, maybe you're from Brazil, maybe you're from China or Russia or a country in Africa like Kenya, or maybe you're from South Africa. Well, you're learning English and you are amazing. But if we went to a job interview here in America, right? Who would be more likely to get the job? Me as an American native English speaker or you? Right, you probably said me because teacher, English is your mother tongue. That means that I had a head start because English is already my first language. Now, if I came to your country, right? If I decided to visit your country and said, I love this country, I want to work here. Well, you would have a head start because that language would be your mother tongue. Make sense? All right, so let's see some examples. Here we go. Let's say, for example, for education. A good education gives your child a head start in life. Next, what about work? I'll get a head start on the paperwork this weekend. It means I'll start doing something ahead of time. I want to make sure that I'm prepared so that when we do have a meeting, I'm already ready. Okay? All right. Next, what about with activities? We can say Cindy gave her younger brother a 5-minute head start in the Easter egg hunt. That means she let her younger brother start earlier than her to give him a little bit of an advantage, right? Okay, next example. Let's say, for example, with money and life. The inheritance money gave him a head start in life. And next, what about with reading? We can say, I was able to get a head start on my reading during the holidays. Again, that just means I was able to start early. I was able to get ahead of the game. That's another one, ahead of the game. All right, so we have head start, a very, very useful idiom. Now, what about number 5? Woo, this one is good. An eye opener. An eye opener, right? No, it's not saying like opening your eyes wide, but it is referring to something with the view you have on things. So here we go. An eye opener. Now, an eye opener is an event or situation that proves to be unexpectedly enlightening. Something that surprises you and teaches you new facts about life. Or something startling, surprising, or enlightening. All right. So we're going to see some examples that will really help you understand how to use this idiom and what it really means. All right. Something that really catches you off guard or even helps you to understand the world or a situation more. Here we go. Let's say, for example, we're looking at this situation. Foreigners. Now, when I was in Korea, I was a foreigner. I heard that word more than I had ever heard it in my entire life, right? Because I was not from Korea, but I was living there, all right? So for foreigners, here we go. Living in another country can be a real eye-opener. Very true. I was able to learn something new about another culture, and it changed the way I viewed the world. Now there are certain things I do that I didn't do before. I learned a lot from the Korean culture, and I also learned a lot about my own culture. I learned to appreciate so many different things. So it was a real eye opener and an enlightening experience. All right. So let's keep going. Foreigners, a great example. What about childhood? Her story about her childhood was a real eye opener. Now for this one, think about when you meet someone, right? Maybe you develop a good relationship with them over time, but there are certain things they do that you really don't understand. And then one day you have a conversation with them and they tell you about their childhood and you're like, that's why he does that. It's a real eye opener. So even for you guys, you love story time, which is coming at the end, so you don't want to go anywhere, right? Story time is when I tell you about my life stories, right? And you're able to get to know me even better. So I'm not just teacher Tiffani, I'm Tiffani. You get to know things I liked when I was younger, things I didn't like, funny stories about my family and my friends. And this brings you closer to me and helps you understand who I am more. An eye opener. All right. Okay. So let's keep going. We have childhood as an example. What about the earth? We can say the movie was a real eye opener for me. I never understood how serious global warming was before. And what about this one? Travel. Sally said her trip to Japan was quite an eye opener. Real quick fact. I really want to visit Japan. Do you know why? I love stationery. Hold on one second. I'm going to show you. Hold on. So I really like stationery, and I think I've showed you all these things before, but this is just one of my pen cases, and I put my markers and other stationery inside of it. But I have another one larger than this, but it's a little bit big for the camera right now. But I really enjoy stationery, and I really enjoy quality stationery. I have certain pens and markers that I use when I'm organizing my thoughts in my notebooks because I really enjoy stationery. Now, you all may like stationery too. I would suggest that you look at some Japanese websites. They're awesome. All right. So again, she's talking about her trip to Japan being an eye opener. All right. So here we go. Let's continue. Reading. The book was a real eye opener. All right. So again, we have eye opener. Now, number 6, another good one. Go over your head. Like go over your head? I got you. Don't you worry. Now, go over your head actually means to go to a more important or powerful person to get what you want, or to take an issue to someone who has more authority than your own boss. This one is funny because, so I have 2 nieces that are in the state that I live in right now. One of my other nieces lives in California. But my youngest niece, she's 3 years old. Her birthday is actually today. No, she's 4. Wow. Okay. Today is the 23rd. Her birthday is today. And later on, if you watch this, Sydney, happy birthday from Auntie Tiff. So anyways, her birthday is today, but she's 4 years old. So our whole family loves her. We love her and all of my other nieces as well. But We love her and she knows how to kind of get what she wants sometimes. So if she asks me for something and I say no, she may go to my mom, her grandmother, and say, Gammy, can I have that? And see what my mother says. Why? Because my mother is more important than me in her eyes sometimes, right? Because, well, maybe Gammy has more power because she's Auntie Tiff's mom. So you see what I'm saying? Go over my head. TT. She calls me TT or Auntie Tiff. TT said no, but TT's mom, she may say yes. So to go over your head, all right? So, or to be too difficult for someone to understand. There are two different meanings. Here we go. Angry. I was furious that he went over my head and complained to my manager. Next, complaint. She would occasionally go over her manager's head to complain to the top financial officer. Makes sense, right? When something happens at your job and maybe your manager or boss doesn't listen to you, sometimes you have to go to someone that's more important. Maybe your boss's boss. Make sense? You have to go over their head. Not advised sometimes, but sometimes you have to do it. Joking around. She was being sarcastic, but he took her seriously. Woo, look at the expression on this guy's face. All right. The joke totally went over his head. Now, remember, this is the second meaning for this idiom. It means to not understand something. Like, I don't get it. What are you talking about? It went over my head or over his head. All right. So a very good and useful idiom. What about in class? The students did not understand what the teacher said. Her explanation went completely over their heads. Makes sense, right? So when I teach a lesson, I try to make sure to break it down so that it does not go over your head. Makes sense? Now, sometimes if something goes over your head, you can say in the comment section or to your tutor, if you have a tutor, right? Wow, the lesson was good, but this one part I didn't understand. Or this one part went over my head. Makes sense, right? Okay, good. So in class, you can use it. Now, again, what about in meetings? A lot of what was said in the meeting went right over my head. Like, I don't know what they were talking about. It went right over my head. All right. Go over your head. Now, what about number 7? Come to your senses. That's right. Come to your senses. What does that mean? Like your senses are, touch, taste, hear, feel. What does that mean? Let me show you. Come to your senses actually means to start to understand that you have been behaving stupidly, or to stop being foolish and become sensible again, or to become reasonable after being foolish. Coming to your senses, like maybe you act crazy for a little bit and then you're like, hey, you got to calm down. You got to relax. Don't act out of character. I need you to come to your senses. Make sense? All right, so let's look at some examples. Here we go. Death. Her death brought many people to their senses. Now, I want you to think about this. Sometimes when someone dies, yes, people feel very sad, but people also think about changing their lives because they realize, wait a minute, I don't know when I may be gone. Let me live my life to the fullest. Let me live my life in a way that will be something good for people to remember when I'm gone. Let me come to my senses and get it together. Make sense? All right. So death can also be spoken about using this idiom. What about a job search? I wish you would come to your senses and look for a better job. Or what about making a mistake? They are waiting for him to come to his senses and realize that he was wrong. Maybe he's saying, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm okay. You guys are the problem. But everyone knows, man, Mark is the one that made the mistake. What is he talking about? He needs to come to his senses. Make sense? All right, here we go. Now, what about when you're not studying? His mother wanted him to come to his senses and start studying for his exam. All right. And what about a bad guy, right? Now, let's say, for example, you're talking to your friends. You say, I wish you would come to your senses and break up with him. he is not a good guy. Now, there are times when your friends, right? Maybe they're dating a guy or a girl and you know it's not good. You know the situation is not good. And you try to tell them, hey, I know you like this person, but this relationship is not good for you. You got to realize he's not good for you. We need you to come to your senses. Make sense? All right. So come to your senses, a very useful English idiom. Now, number 8, again, another good one. It's written all over your face. And I think that you may have heard this idiom before. I think I may have taught this idiom to you before in a lesson very quickly. But think about it. It's written all over your face. How do you think I feel right now? I'm not saying anything, but how do I look? I look happy, right? I am happy to teach you. But let's say, for example, I change. Suddenly, I look irritated or angry, right? Why? Because you could see it all over my face. My expression changed. So it's written all over your face just means, hey, I can tell how you're feeling because your facial expressions, they're telling me a lot. Okay? All right. So let's see some examples. Here we go. Let's say, for example, again, let me explain it a little bit more. The expression on someone's face is showing their true feelings, means that it is clear what a person is thinking or feeling, or it is very evident when looking at someone's face. Like I explained, when I look happy, it's very easy to tell. When I'm angry, it's very easy to tell. Don't worry, I don't get angry a lot. All right, here we go. Now we're looking at the examples. What about when someone makes a mistake? I know she's guilty. It's written all over her face. It's written all over her face. All right, so what about this situation? When you get caught, I know my son stole the money. The guilt was written all over his face. What about this one? Good news. I can tell something amazing has happened. It's written all over your face. Tell me what it is. Think about it, y'all. When you're talking to your friends, right? And suddenly your friend, another friend walks up and is like, hey guys, how are you? And they look really excited. What do you normally do? That's right. You ask them, hey, how are you? What's going on? You look really happy. You can tell because it's written all over their face. All right. All right. What about this situation? Someone does something wrong. I know you did it. It's written all over your face. Here's a funny story. So when I was in high school, we got a dog. Her name was Snickers. Yep, like the candy bar. Her name was Snickers. And Snickers was a good dog, very cute. She was a Lhasa Apso, small white dog, right? But we always knew when Snickers did something bad. We always knew when she bit something she shouldn't have been biting, or when she peed. You know, sometimes dogs pee sometimes in the area that they should not be peeing in. Like when she was running around downstairs, we'd see her and she'd kind of shy away from us. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? And I said, hey, you peed, didn't you? You peed, didn't you, Snickers? And then I'd find the spot and, you know, I had to clean it up and everything. But it was written all over her face. I hadn't seen the spot, but I saw her face and I was like, wait a minute. You did something, dog. You did something, Snickers. So it was written all over her face. All right, now let's keep going. What about this one? Feeling sad. I know he is sad. It's written all over his face. So again, it's written all over your face. Now, number 9. Another good one, y'all. Face the music. Face the music. And we got another face one. So what does face the music actually mean? Now, face the music means to be confronted with the unpleasant consequences of one's actions, to receive a punishment, or to accept responsibility for something you have done. Maybe you made a mistake and you know there are going to be consequences, but you have two choices. Either you can act like, hey, I didn't do it. It's not me. Or you can say, you know what? I did it. Whatever the consequences are, I'll take them. I need to face the music. All right. Take responsibility for your actions. Here we go. Playing. Let's say, for example, Michael broke a vase and had to face the music when his father got home. Michael's dad was not going to be happy at all. All right. Next, what about this one? Doing poorly. All right. After failing a history exam, Samantha had to go home and face the music. Woo! Her mom was about to be angry, but she knew she had to take responsibility for the mistakes she made on the test, right? Okay, now what about this situation? Robbing. Smith was returned to the U.S. from Cuba to face the music for his part in a robbery more than 10 years ago. Take responsibility. Next, what about stealing? When the missing handbag was noticed, he chose to disappear rather than face the music, meaning he did not want to take responsibility for what he had done. All right. So what about with worrying? Stop worrying about it and just face the music. It's okay. Take responsibility for what you did. Face the music. Okay. All right. So a very, very useful idiom. Face the music. Now, number 10, y'all. This one is great. Rack your brain. Teacher, what is rack your brain? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Now, rack your brain. Here we go. Rack your brain means to make a great effort to think or remember something, to think very hard, or to try very hard to think of something. So let's say we're talking about, again, in story time, I talk about my childhood and my family and my friends. And let's say I'm telling you a story about when I was in elementary school, right? And I'm like, yes, my teacher, my math teacher. And I'm like, what was her name? Oh man, what was her name? I'm trying hard to remember something. I'm racking my brain to try to remember. Oh man, what's my teacher's name? What was her name again? I'm racking my brain. Make sense? All right, so let's see some examples. Here we go. All right, so first we have working. He's racking his brain about how to deal with the situation. What about searching? My dad was racking his brain trying to remember where he put his wedding ring. Ooh, you better find that ring, Dad. All right. Next, what about this one? Studying. The student was racking his brain trying to remember the definition of the word huge. Now, you know the definition, right? Very large. That's the word huge. That's the meaning. But he was trying to figure it out. What about this one? Investigating. The detective kept racking his brain to solve the mystery. And what about this one? Reflecting. I've been racking my brain all day, but I can't remember her name. What was her name again? Remember? Talking about maybe when I was in school, my favorite English teacher. What was her name again? Racking my brain. So again, number 10 was what? Rack your brain. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this lesson. I loved teaching it to you. I loved helping you learn 10 of these idioms that we use in English. And if you master these and start practicing and using them, you will start sounding more like a native English speaker. All right, guys, well, I will see you next week in our next lesson. But remember, if you want to continue studying with me and you enjoy the lessons that I give you each week, please come and join our family in the Speak English with Tiffani Academy. You can go to this link right here, right now, and become a part of our family. We have so many students from around the world, and we are waiting for you to join our family. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. But as always, remember to speak English. You know what time it is. It's story time. Hey, I said it's story time. All right, guys. So today's story actually happened, was it last week? Last week. So, I have lots of friends. God has blessed me with really good friends and strong friendships and strong relationships. So I contacted one of my friends and I asked her if she wouldn't mind being on my podcast. I wanted to interview her. She said, sure, I'll definitely be on your podcast. So, we set a date, we set a schedule, And I contacted her. I said, okay, we're ready for the interview. But before we started recording, we were kind of chatting because it had been a few weeks since we had spoken last. So we're talking and she said, Tiff, you know what? I actually was talking about you with one of my patients. Now, my friend is a psychologist, right? And she has patients that have some serious issues sometimes. She works with young people a lot, young people who have had trouble with the law and, just in very, suspect or bad situations. So I said, my name came up? I hope it was something good. She laughed and she said, well, Tiff, we were actually talking about boundaries. I said, okay, keep going. She said, well, I was telling my client the importance of having and setting boundaries. And she said, I brought up you. She said, I have this friend, and when we lived in Korea, so she and I met in Korea. She's American, but we met in Korea, and she lived in the apartment above me. So she would come over sometimes, either have dinner or just talk. And she was telling her client, she said, yeah. And this friend of mine, I'd go to her apartment and I'd be talking to her. Now, you all know I'm a morning person, right? I've told you I'm a morning person and I normally go to bed early because I get up so early. So she was telling her client, she said, yeah. So I'd go to my friend's apartment and I would be talking to her. And suddenly, as soon as it hit 9:30, at that time it was 9:30. I go to bed earlier now, but she said at 9:30, no matter what I was talking about, she would stand up, talking about me, and cut the light off. Now I'm laughing as she's telling me this because it was automatic. She said, Tiff, you would stand up. Again, we're still having a conversation. You would turn the light off and say, hun, you can stay as long as you want. You can stay here. You can continue telling me your story. But I cannot promise you that my eyes will stay open. I cannot promise you that I'll stay awake. And she said, I told my client, I was offended the first time that happened. So again, I'm still laughing because I've had so many other friends tell me the exact same thing. When it hits 9 o'clock, at that time it was 9:30. When it hit 9 o'clock, I cannot control it, guys. My body shuts down. I get good sleep. I fall asleep very quickly. So my friend was telling her client, you need to be like Tiffani. You need to set boundaries. And no matter what is going on, you keep those boundaries. So we had a great laugh. And she said, Tiff, after a while, I realized it wasn't just me that you did that to. You did it to all your friends because you couldn't control you had to fall asleep. So we laughed. We had a good laugh. But yes, that's something about me. Literally, my body will shut down. So I work very hard during the day. And my body says, okay, Tiff, it's over now. You're going to go to bed. Yep. We don't care if you're on the phone. We don't care if you're working. Your body is going to shut down. So my friends all know that about me and they laugh about it because we've tried to have movie nights. I'll tell you some stories later and I'll be the first one to fall asleep no matter what. If it's in the evening at night, I'm going to fall asleep. So that's something maybe you did not know about me. I get my rest. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's story. I will talk to you next week. Have a wonderful week.